Welcome back to Reds Fusion LFC. The pressure is boiling over in the Premier League as Arne Slot faces the heat amid Liverpool's worrying slump. Tottenham make a shock move for Thomas Frank, and Dominik Szoboszlai breaks his silence on that right-back decision. Plus, fresh drama around Florian Wirtz, Virgil van Dijk's honest admission, and Graeme Souness firing shots at Mo Salah. Buckle up, Reds. This one is packed. Let's dive in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated with every twist and turn in the transfer window.
Premier League sack race, pressure builds on Arne Slot as Tottenham make Thomas Frank call. The Premier League is no stranger to seeing managers get sacked, and Liverpool's Arne Slot and Tottenham's Thomas Frank are among the bosses currently under pressure. There are few more precarious jobs than that of a football manager. For Premier League bosses have already been sacked this season as clubs seek to turn around their fortunes. Vitor Pereira, Graham Potter, Nuno Espirito Santo and Ange Postecoglou have all been given their marching orders during the campaign. Santo is already back in this division, providing a very vivid illustration of the managerial merry-go-round. With just 12 games played this season, it's not unthinkable that more coaches could find themselves on the chopping block before the end of 2025/26. More than one may already have a bead of sweat on their brow in concern over the position. A lucky or qualified few will not have thought about the prospect of being sacked and have zero fear of their futures being pulled out from underneath them. Things change quickly in the Premier League. Safe. Arsenal are flying high at the top of the Premier League, and the Gunners wouldn't dream of sacking Mikel Arteta as he looks on course to finally bring a title to the Emirates. Missing out again could leave food for thought, but the Spaniard is overseeing an impressive job in North London. Pep Guardiola is a figure likely to decide his own future at Manchester City, while Oliver Glasner is on course for another strong season after leading Crystal Palace to the FA Cup last term. The latter is much more likely to depart of his own accord. After an uncertain start, Unai Emery has guided Aston Villa into fourth, while Chelsea won't be quick to part ways with Enzo Maresca, with the club in second in the Premier League. Bournemouth's Andoni Iraola is working wonders after a summer of sales, and Sunderland boss Regis Lebris is enjoying an exciting season with newly promoted Sunderland. No danger of the sack there. Likewise, Fabian Hürzeler is guiding Brighton well with the Seagulls just 4 points from Chelsea in the Premier League. Meanwhile, Sean Dyche's win over Liverpool will see him in good standing as Nottingham Forest as third boss of the season. Steady. Eddie Howe is in no danger of being sacked despite the club sitting 14th. If that's where they stay, questions could be asked of his ability to manage domestic and Champions League football come the end of the season. Scott Parker and David Moyes remain good fits for Burnley and Everton respectively, and shouldn't be looking over their shoulder other than after any devastating form which dramatically pushes their teams to relegation. Likewise, Keith Andrews has enjoyed a good start at Brentford, but in his first role in the top job needs to continue to prove himself. Fulham want to tie Marcos Silva down to a new deal before the end of the year, but the Portuguese coach has yet to commit. The Cottagers' season has not been a roaring success, and it will be interesting to see what transpires if that continues. Nuno Espirito Santo appears to have found his feet at West Ham, while Rob Edwards has barely had time to sit down at Wolves. Both will know their employers can be ruthless. Under pressure. Arne Slot is not on the verge of being sacked after winning the league last year, but is undoubtedly under a degree of pressure after 6 defeats in 7 Premier League outings. The Dutchman is shouldering the blame for Liverpool's dramatic fall in form. Tottenham boss Thomas Frank has helped Spurs to a position much higher than last year's 17th position. Defeat to Arsenal and some subpar performances have not borne much in the way of affection from fans, but club owners, the Lewis family, are clear on Frank's appointment being part of a long-term project. Manchester United boss Ruben Amorim needs to deliver this season, with no European football. The Portuguese coach will be expected to return the Red Devils to a truly competitive team, and they are still producing performances of varying quality. Daniel Farke remains the bookies' favorite for the sack. The Leeds boss saw speculation over his future in the summer, having never kept a team in the Premier League. 3 defeats in a row leaves the Yorkshire club in the relegation zone. Dominik Szoboszlai addresses Liverpool right-back decision by Arne Slot. I don't know. Dominik Szoboszlai was once again playing out of position for Liverpool in their Premier League defeat at home to Nottingham Forest on Saturday. Dominik Szoboszlai admits he isn't entirely sure why he has become Liverpool's Mr. Versatile as he once again answered the call from Arne Slot at the weekend. Szoboszlai has been the Reds' best performer of a difficult season, predominantly when playing in a preferred central midfield role. The Hungary international, though, spent part of the early weeks playing as an emergency right-back due to fitness concerns over Jeremy Frimpong and Connor Bradley, and was compelled to return to the role on Saturday with the duo ruled out of the dismal 3-0 Premier League home defeat to Nottingham Forest. With Frimpong and Bradley likely sidelined for the next 3 weeks, Szoboszlai will again be an option at right-back for Reds boss Slot when PSV Eindhoven visit in the Champions League on Wednesday. And when asked for a reason he is trusted to play in a number of positions, the 25-year-old said, "To be honest, I don't know. You have to ask my managers. I think it comes from growing up playing as a central midfielder. In my opinion, a central midfielder can play any position on the pitch a lot easier. The midfield is where a lot of the action happens in training and in the matches. You always have to be ready in that position, so if you play wider, you will feel like you have a lot more time on the ball and a lot more space ahead of you straight away. When I play as a right back, I think that's one of the reasons why I can solve these situations." Liverpool are in a difficult period, having lost 6 of their last 7 Premier League games in defence of the title they lifted in May, and beaten 8 times in 11 in all competitions. And Szoboszlai said, "There are always difficult moments on and off the pitch. It always changes. Sometimes the team needs you, sometimes they don't. Sometimes you're in great form, sometimes you're not. It's always up to you how you react. I feel like so far, I've been able to deal with difficult times quite well, and I hope that continues." Speaking to World Soccer magazine, Szoboszlai also addressed what he had learned from his time working under Slot following the appointment of the Dutchman in place of Jurgen Klopp 18 months ago. "Many things," he said. "From how to play between the lines, making runs from deep or arriving in front of the goal from open play. Honestly, he has taught me a lot of things." And on comparing Slot with his predecessor, Szoboszlai added, "They're different managers. I don't want to go into tactics, but both of them are great managers, and I owe a lot to them. I will forever be grateful to both." Florian Wirtz injury update emerges as surprise name trains with Liverpool squad. Liverpool were in training on Tuesday afternoon ahead of their Champions League clash against PSV Eindhoven at Anfield on Wednesday. Florian Wirtz is set to remain absent for Liverpool's Champions League clash against PSV Eindhoven after missing training on Tuesday afternoon. Wirtz was among a number of players to sit out the session at the AXA training centre before the meeting with the Eredivisie leaders at Anfield on Wednesday evening. The attacking midfielder was sidelined for Saturday's dismal 3-0 Premier League loss at home to Nottingham Forest, having picked up a muscle problem while on international duty for Germany the previous week. Connor Bradley, who also suffered a muscle injury during World Cup qualifiers with Northern Ireland, and hamstrung fellow right-back Jeremy Frimpong were also missing as they continue their rehabilitation. Neither is expected to be back for at least another fortnight, while teenage centre-back Giovanni Leone is out for the season after ACL surgery. Arne Slot otherwise has a full-strength squad from which to choose, with no fresh injury concerns given the involvement of the remainder of the players in the session at Achille Kirkby. Calvin Ramsey, who is ineligible for the Champions League opening stage, was part of the session, along with youngsters Rio Ngumaha, Trey Nyoni, and Kyle Gordon. And 22-year-old left-back James Norris was also involved, having spent much of the year on loan at League of Ireland side Shelbourne. He is ineligible as he can still feature for Shelbourne in the Conference League, although he is currently serving a European suspension. Liverpool have taken 9 points from 4 games at the halfway point of the Champions League opening stage, while PSV have 5 points after winning just once so far, albeit a thumping 6-2 triumph at home to Italian champions Napoli. Arne Slot told where he stands at Liverpool after dismal slump and Virgil van Dijk admission. Arne Slot is coming under increasing scrutiny at Liverpool as the Reds continue their dismal form, and now Echo writers have had their say on his future. Tuesday marks exactly 6 months to the day since Arne Slot lifted the Premier League trophy at a joyous Anfield. Absolutely nobody would have predicted where the Dutchman finds himself now. 6 defeats in 7 Premier League games have seen the reigning champions slide down to the bottom half of the Premier League table, with their season reaching a new low with Saturday's 3-0 home defeat to Nottingham Forest. That result has sparked more scrutiny on Slot than ever before, with the Liverpool boss facing mounting pressure ahead of a return to Anfield for Wednesday's Champions League clash with PSV Eindhoven. Where, then, does Slot find himself now? Our Echo writers have had their say. Paul Gorst. For Rio Ferdinand and his pals, Arne Slot apparently isn't receiving the correct amount of criticism for Liverpool's recent form compared to that of Ruben Amorim during his own difficult periods at Manchester United. The simple fact that one won the Premier League title and the other finished 15th last season has a lot to do with that, despite Ferdinand's shameless and blatant attempts at social media engagement on Monday, and, for now at least, Slot's crowning glory is insulating him from real questions over his job. The criticism, of course, has been fulsome and not without merit given the paucity of the performances and the curiosity of some of the decisions from the Dutchman, both in game and pre-match. For example, Liverpool spent the thick end of £200 million on two out-and-out centre forwards in Alexander Isak and Hugo Ekitike and seem to play a system that ensures that those who lead the line are as uninvolved as possible. There's also the lack of intensity, the failure to win the lion's share of the duels and the horrendous habit of conceding first. That's before we mention the consistent pattern of loading up on forward players in search of a result only to see the team's structure fall apart and things get worse. There are a myriad of problems, and losing 3-0 at home to a team who were in the relegation zone prior to kickoff in Nottingham Forest means searching questions are valid. How much longer the goodwill of last season lasts while results remain this poor will make for some debate, but for now Slot has credit in the bank. But it will be the Liverpool fans who ultimately decide if and when it is time for a change, and an overwhelming majority are still backing Slot to clean this mess, to use Virgil van Dijk's phrasing, up. If Slot finishes 15th, maybe those questions will start to really intensify, but, then again, Amorim kept his job after being so mediocre, didn't he, Rio? Theo Squires. While it is premature to consider Arne Slot's position at Liverpool at risk, despite their recent woes, Wednesday's clash with PSV Eindhoven has suddenly become a must-win. Fail to do so, and the outside noise will get a hell of a lot louder. When the Champions League phase draw was made, the visit of the Eredivisie outfit to Anfield would have been seen as the most straightforward of the Reds' European encounters. But after losing 3-0 at home to Nottingham Forest, the Dutch outfit have every right to fancy their chances of landing their own blow to the flailing Premier League champions. Liverpool have not been at their best throughout the entire season, even when scoring late winners back in the summer. And back-to-back 3-0 losses to Man City and Forest has wiped out all positivity after victories over Aston Villa and Real Madrid at the start of the month. The Reds have to respond on the pitch, and Slot has to find a solution. Something has to give. Graeme Souness launches scathing attack on Mohamed Salah for not turning up. Liverpool legend Graeme Souness has slammed Mohamed Salah, claiming the star forward has not turned up for the Reds this season amid their Premier League crisis. Liverpool icon Graeme Souness has joined the chorus of pundits questioning Mohamed Salah's form. Liverpool's Premier League campaign is in turmoil, with a 3-0 drubbing by Nottingham Forest on Saturday pushing the team down to 12th place in the standings, a staggering 11 points behind Arsenal in first. Manager Arne Slot is feeling the heat to reverse the team's fortunes after accepting blame for the current downturn. However, while Slot has taken responsibility, insisting the poor form is his doing, Souness sees it differently. He argues that the players should be stepping up on the pitch and singled out Salah for specific criticism following another poor display against Forest. He, with Slot, will be using the same words, the same tactics, training the same way, resting them the same way, the travel is the same. He's doing all that, and he'll be scratching his head and staying awake at night. I put it firmly at the feet of the players. He added, take the new signings out of the picture. What's happened to the guys that won the league last time? They're the same players. I'm not absolving the manager of any blame, but he's got a group of players that were bloody good last year, and people were paying them enormous plaudits, correctly so. When asked if Salah needs to step up his game, the former Liverpool manager responded, "Oh Christ. How long have we got? He's been an absolute superstar. This is the nicest thing I can say about Salah, he's been the go-to man for the last 7 years. If you're picking an all-time Liverpool 11, he's one of the first names on the team sheet. But I think it's his brother who has turned up this season. I saw an incident in the Community Shield. I'm looking for little signals." He had his back to the sideline, and a ball is played up towards the Crystal Palace left back. He's not going to win it, he's not the most physical type, but he could at least go and try and make life difficult for the fullback. He made no attempt to make that challenge. He's never been the bravest. He's never going to get hurt in a 50-50, and I wouldn't want him to because he's such a genius at the top end. But he's shown a lack of appetite. I'm sorry, but hard words are sometimes the kindest words, and I think he needs hard words, and, ultimately, they'll get him back to being the superstar that he's been for Liverpool. This season, he has not turned up. Salah has managed just 5 goals and 3 assists in 17 appearances this season after his contribution to Liverpool's title triumph with his finest attacking output of 34 goals and 23 assists across 52 matches in 2024-25.